Star Wars Hunters has to be one of the best PvP Star Wars games released in the last, I don't know, 7 years. It's Star Wars, but it's leading the charge with its gameplay and knocks that part of it out of the park. Plus, they still have some legit fan service like retro Mandalorian skins that look very inspired by, say, the original Boba Fett. I find the gameplay super engaging and it manages to stand on its own outside of being propped up by, say, the Star Wars IP, and the different classes like radically change up the way that you want to play. Let's get into the details. Now honestly, this game wasn't on my radar to begin with, but the devs reached out to sponsor this video, and I'm really glad they did because otherwise I might have not known about just how good this game is. If you want to check out Star Wars Hunters for yourself, use my link or QR code on screen to download it. It's a free to play and it's designed around 4v4 matches, which you can play on either casual or ranked mode, and it has modes like squad brawl and dynamic control. But once you actually get into it, it's clear that a ton of time and care was put into making this game fun and interesting, especially when it comes to the different character playstyles and abilities. There's a ton of characters to unlock, representing all the unique creatures and characters from the Star Wars universe, like bounty hunters, stormtroopers, Wookiees, Jedis, of course. But I actually thought it was really neat seeing lots of the side characters who generally aren't front and center in Star Wars games, but here I can play as a Jawa and actually make it fun and competitive. And the more you play any of the characters, of course, the more upgrades and abilities you get and cosmetics and whatnot. Now, right off the bat, I was surprised by just how much depth and challenge there is to this game. It really isn't your run-of-the-mill mobile shooter where you can just point your character in a direction and they do all the work for you. You actually have to aim, time your abilities, move around the map quickly. It really doesn't feel like it's being limited at all by its platform choice. It's actually quite impressive how good the controls are for it being a mobile and Switch game. Now, characters like Diago that are designed to work as long-range snipers require quite a bit of nuance to actually make them effective. His weapon does more damage while you're zoomed in, but doing so also slows your rate of fire way down. Staying on target, knowing when to use his zoom versus using hip fire is challenging, but also really fun, especially when like a Wookiee is throwing a giant boulder at you. Also, speaking of which, this Wookiee boulder is crazy OP, and that really is kind of the appeal. It's got all this cool Star Wars stuff that you would expect from a Star Wars game, but you can also tell that a lot of time and care was put into ensuring balance and really engaging gameplay. Like, the Wookiee is absolutely fantastic for clearing several enemies off of an objective or doing big bursts of damage in a short window, but he's also a massive target at range and has limited tools to engage at a distance. So you really have to use the map to your advantage to avoid the long-range combat or play around teammates that will complement what abilities you lack. Other characters like Imara Vex and Diago are intended for medium to long range combat, and their weapons are mostly designed to pick off individual targets, and they have smaller health pools. So brawling with 2 to 3 enemies at once requires, well, a lot of smart decision making or just trying to avoid that fight in the first place. They also have grappling hooks that you can use to quickly gain a height advantage to your opponents. I'll be playing a match where I'm defending an objective with Diago at range while my team moves in to secure it, and having a character that can do that without putting themselves directly into the fray is actually super helpful for your team, and it's nice that the game rewards this. I'm a fan of his playstyle because he's also adaptable in close quarters. Like, if you're getting bum rushed, you can always put down a proximity mine to give yourself a little bit of breathing room to get out of the melee fight and then get some of those shots in to finish off the kills in close quarters. Then there's characters like the Stormtrooper Sentinel, who serves as sort of a hybrid between the tanky close range characters and medium range ones. He has a gun shield that absorbs incoming damage, but it also speeds up the rate of fire of his weapon, and I'd imagine a lot of new players are going to like this guy because he's super versatile and generally easier to play. Medium range and even close range fights tend to go his way as long as you're playing relatively smart. Now, all the characters have ultimate abilities that will charge up over time, either with boost pickups at your spawn points, or you can boost it by getting kills and capturing objectives. Sentinel's ultimate spawns in 2 NPC stormtroopers to help you out, and honestly, it's awesome. Activating your shield while 2 stormtroopers flank you kind of feels like you're a one-man army. Now, if you're really in the mood to be a one-man powerhouse, the Mandalorian character Aran Tal has a massive flamethrower as an ultimate ability that just melts people. It's perfect for clearing enemies off the objectives and just shutting down group attacks. You can tell that people who pick the Wookiee character think they can just take on the whole team, and well, sometimes they kind of can. Aran Tal being able to shut them down mid-rampage is awesome. His standard dual blasters do a lot of damage in close range, and combine that with his ultimate, well, walking carpets won't be in your way for long, let's just put it that way. Most characters either have a stun or evade ability that helps in these situations, but sometimes you just want that raw DPS. Now, if you're a big Star Wars fan, you'll definitely recognize the map locations. They're based on popular spots like Mos Eisley, the Death Star, Kashyyyk, and the maps have lots of cool interactive elements to them. One of the Tatooine maps has a pod race that'll rush through the center of the map from time to time. When that happens, huge barricades come up out of the floor and block off sections of the map, and apparently it'll kill you if you get hit by it. And most of the levels feature a lot of verticality too that makes stuff like your grappling hook super powerful. Kashyyyk has those platforms in the trees above the main area that makes for a fantastic sniping nest, which I'm so glad that they actually let you use them. Being able to zip out of danger, reload, heal, and then attack from a different angle keeps the pace of the game really engaging. And it's just handled so well, I really gotta give the devs credit for just putting the gameplay so far ahead of everything else. And speaking of which, once you play several rounds, you'll unlock ranked mode, and that's where things get really spicy. The casual mode is great and it's fun, but in ranked I can tell that the other players are really taking it more seriously. Most of the casual matches I was racking up multi-kills and my team was commanding a healthy lead without really having to take it too seriously, but in ranked you start to feel the need for good team composition and really smart gameplay. Simple stuff like letting big melee characters duke it out while falling back to cover them from ranged attacks or waiting for your team to group up before pushing onto an objective really makes a huge difference. But I gotta say I was really enjoying this mode just because everybody seemed to be really focused on the win condition. It's nice to have the casual mode to fall back on or just depending on what you're in the mood for, but it very much made me realize that this game absolutely has legs when it comes to its competitive side. Now there's also limited time event modes that you can queue up for. The one I've been playing recently is the Random Hero. It's kind of cool because it lets you try out and level up characters that you haven't unlocked yet. It seems like a great way to learn how to fight against heroes that you've never played yourself, and also deciding on which heroes you might want to try and unlock down the road. It also just seemed like a good way to mix things up if you wanted to take a break from casual or competitive. Ultimately, I gotta say I'm really impressed with the moment-to-moment gameplay. Star Wars Hunters is genuinely a competitive shooter that just happens to also play great on mobile. When I have downtime away from my PC but I still want to play something, this has quickly become my main go-to. I highly recommend it. Again, check out Star Wars Hunters with my link in the description or scan the QR code on screen. That'll send you straight to the App Store to download this game for free, and if you do so, make sure to let the devs know that I sent you. Season 1, Welcome to the Arena, is live right now with a battle pass and tons of content to unlock. So once again, check out my link in the description or scan that QR code to play the game. As always guys, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. This is Level Cap, signing off.